Tell me about a weakness. As always, we're going to start off by trying to understand why they're asking us this question. Why is somebody asking me what my weakness is? Well, there's really three things that I want to learn as the interviewer about somebody when I ask them this question. The first is, are you honest about yourself? Am I dealing with a bit of a bullshitter over here? Am I dealing with somebody I'm going to have a good relationship with? Are you honest about yourself? And do I sort of smell something fishy, or do I believe you? The second thing is, are you somebody who continues to improve? Are you somebody who's always getting better, somebody who's always growing in a role? I know you're not going to know everything from the start, but depending on what your weakness is and how you work to improve it, I'll know if you're going to be able to adapt to all the rigors that my organization and my team have. Now, the third thing is, are you right for the job? And this is where some people share a bit of a crippling weakness, right? And we'll talk a little bit about crippling weaknesses, but understanding if you're right for the job is an important part of this question. So the key part of your answer then is to show, no matter the weakness you pick, that you're always improving. You're always improving, you're always moving forward. And that's the core thing I want you to work on as you work on your answer here. So the first thing I want to share is you control the narrative, right? This is not a place to get nervous. This is not a place to wonder if what's the question behind the question or the 17 different things I could say. You control the narrative. So there's a few things I want to make sure we're all on the same page about. First, pick a real weakness, right? Make it something genuine that you're not so good at. I'm sick of hearing I care too much, I work too hard, I'm too much of a perfectionist. Like that, I will hire somebody just to fire them if they tell me that. Maybe that's a little bit harsh. The point is, don't give me any of that. We're all reading through it. Give me something, a genuine weakness. This is a place to be vulnerable. It's a place kind of like we talked about with failures yesterday. It's a place to say, this is something I need to improve on. Make sure the weakness isn't crippling, right? If you're trying to be a lifeguard, don't tell me you can't swim. If you're trying to be a salesperson, don't tell me you hate people. If you're trying to be a nurse, don't tell me sometimes you can be mean to people, right? Don't pick a crippling weakness that's going to disqualify you just because you don't have the skill that is required for the job. Don't pick a weakness where on the job description it says they're looking for this as a strength, right? You control the narrative. You get to decide what you're going to pick. And lastly, keep it short and to the point. And I think that's really important here with this answer, unlike my description of the answer, but with the answer, I challenge you to do it in under a minute, maybe under 1:15. Keep it short. And I know some of you are like, oh my God, he's already been super annoying with a 2-minute time limit. How can I do this in under a minute? A minute, minute 15, minute 30. Keep it short. This is not a place where you're going to dive into deep stories. This is not a place where all these storytelling skills we talked about the first 3 days, you don't need to bring me into the times that your weakness really prevailed and you were so terrible at whatever it is. Someone asks you a question. They want to learn those 3 things about you, right? They want to learn, are you honest? Can you keep improving? Are you ready for the job? Answer their question quickly. Okay. So the way we're going to structure our answer, it's a 3.5 step answer. What I mean by that is the last step, absolutely not necessary, more of a nice to have. So the 3 core steps: name your weakness, explain that you know that it's a challenge for you, give a little bit of analysis, be self-aware, and then most importantly, show that you're working on it. And if you have this tidbit, and you guys will all get the slides after this, so don't worry about it, but if you have this tidbit, show that you've actually turned it into a success. Show that what used to be a weakness can now actually be one of your superpowers. So let's go through what this looks like. Name the weakness. I don't want you to beat around the bush. I don't want you to tell me, well, one thing that I've been told, that an opportunity that I've been working on, that's possibly maybe, no. Just tell me what you're bad at, all right? I need to tell better stories with data. I need to be more confident of a speaker. I need to whatever, and then you move on, right? Don't beat around the bush here. Keep it short, to the point. Explain that you know that it's a challenge and why, right? This is where self-awareness and a broader critical thinking mindset comes in. Give me a little bit of analysis, right? If the reason I chose this, can anyone name the movie? Anyone know what this is?
Rudy.
There we go. We got a couple of fighting Irish in here. This is Rudy, right? And the story of Rudy, I knew Janae would know that. She loves sports. The story of Rudy is This young buck, 5 foot nothing, weighs 100 and nothing pounds, wants to play football for the Irish. What's his weakness? He's super weak. He's not very strong. He's pretty slow. He's not very good at football. Why is it important? Well, to be good at football, you got to be strong. You got to be fast. Give a little bit of analysis around why that weakness matters, right? And make sure it's a weakness that matters. If you're an accountant and you're interviewing for an accounting job and someone says, tell me about a weakness, and you say, well, I don't really know how to cook very well. I don't care, right? That's not a weakness that matters. You can't convince me that that matters. Now, if you go to the too far to the opposite side and you say, I'm an accountant, what's your greatest weakness? Well, I don't really like math. Ugh, crippling weakness. That's a little bit too far to the other side. Now, what's that happy middle? I'm an accountant. What's your greatest weakness? Well, I think I need to be a better public speaker. Interesting. It's not really often seen in accountants, but tell me why it matters. Well, it matters because actually I'm a manager of accountants and I really need to inspire teams better. And actually, I've been sent to a lot of conferences to speak and represent my company. And so improving as a public speaker helps my company as an accountant, right? To explain to me that it's a challenge and explain to me why. Give me a little bit of analysis there that I can really respect you for and say, all right, not only is Sherry self-aware and she needs to work on this, but she understands why. She can go a little bit deeper. She didn't just pick a name out of a hat and decide to call that her weakness. Show that you're working on it. This is the most important part of our answer. Show that you're doing something to improve. Are you taking classes? Are you putting yourself in tough situations? Was this a weakness that somebody identified 5 years ago, and over the last 5 years, you and your manager or whatever, right after you identified it, it became a goal of yours, and you started to put yourself in those situations? What have you been doing? And no matter the weakness, there's always something you can be doing. What have you been doing to improve on that weakness and to get consistently better? Classes are awesome. Putting yourself in uncomfortable situations are awesome. Learning from peers is great. Working with your last manager and setting goals or whatever is great. Show me that you're improving. This is the most important thing on this weakness. Show me that you're aware of it and what you're doing to work on it. Now, the last thing is, once we've shown that, is this is just the nice to have, not necessary, the turned around success, right? Have you gotten so good? Have you turned your weakness into such a strength that you can actually accomplish something that used to cripple you with fear or uncertainty? You can now use that as an accomplishment, right? How good of an answer would this be? Tell me about your greatest weakness. Well, when I was born, I had a disease that meant I couldn't walk, but I started working on it. And I built braces for my legs. And then I started running, and I actually got so good at running, I ran across the country and I started a whole movement, and I made a movie about me called Forrest Gump, right? That answer, that I turned this into a success, is really strong. So if you were afraid of public speaking and public speaking was a weakness of yours, but then you took a Toastmasters class, and then, hey, let me tell you, at my last job, I was sent to a conference, I gave a talk, and 100 new leads came into the business, bam, you turned it into a success. If you're a great weakness, for example, the way I would answer this question is, thanks for the question. One of my weaknesses is the ability to use data in storytelling. I am in sales, and storytelling is really important. I actually think storytelling is one of my greatest strengths. And I always found success just telling stories without data. But as the executives I sold to got higher up in level, and as I had to get more cross-functional teams involved, telling stories and data became more and more important. So I took a few classes, some in storytelling, but some in data science as well, to be able to use both skills together. And I actually learned a lot from my last CEO, who started his career as an investment banker and cared a lot about data telling and storytelling. And actually, one great win that I was really proud of is I was trying to get a client on board, and our CEO wasn't sure it was the right client. He didn't think it would be good for us. And so the stories I was telling wouldn't work. So I paused, I went to my desk, and I created a story using data. And I quantified employee morale and profits and revenues and potential and what it might lead to. And I put it all into a pretty spreadsheet, and I shared it to him. And I said, Daniel, I really believe that this client will do a lot for us, and here's the data to prove that. And he agreed, and we got the client, and we all lived happily ever after, right? Sharing a win that I turned what used to be a weakness, and what in some ways still is, into a success I can make the most out of it, is really, really important. So this part's not relevant, right? Some people don't have that. That's totally fine. Don't force it. Like I said, most important thing here is show that you're improving on it and be brief if you can. Don't spend 5 minutes on your weakness. Get back to the strengths. Use it as a platform to talk about strengths, and you'll be well off.